Welcome back to Kind Tales, the home of stories that warm the soul and awaken faith. If you're new here, take a moment to subscribe, like and share, because every act of kindness helps light another heart. Tonight's story is about loneliness, faith, and the way God speaks. Sometimes not through thunder or miracles, but through quiet acts of love. It's titled, He Thought He'd Eat Alone, until a mother said, "My son's hungry. Can we stay a while?" It was a cold, rainy evening in the small town of Maple Ridge. The streets were nearly empty, the lamps glowing faintly through the mist. Inside a cozy little cafe on the corner, a man named Ethan sat by the window. His shoulders were slumped, his eyes distant, as he stirred his coffee in silence. Every evening he came to that same table, ordered the same soup, and stared out at the world that seemed to have forgotten him. 6 months had passed since his wife died, and in those months he had drifted through life like a ghost. He no longer prayed. He no longer hoped. He believed God had gone silent. The cafe was almost empty that night. The soft hum of rain against the glass seemed to echo his thoughts. Ethan opened a small, worn Bible that his wife had given him years ago. Inside the cover, in her delicate handwriting, were the words, "Even in silence, God speaks." He traced the faded letters with trembling fingers and whispered under his breath, "If you still speak, Lord, please let me hear you." Then he closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and sat quietly, waiting for something, anything. The bell above the cafe door rang, and a woman stepped in, soaked from the rain, holding the hand of a little boy. They looked tired, shivering, and lost. The woman walked to the counter, fumbling for change. The boy tugged on her coat and whispered, "Mama, can we eat?" The cashier's voice was gentle but firm. "I'm sorry, ma'am, we only take cards." The woman nodded weakly, eyes glistening with embarrassment. Ethan watched, quietly. Something stirred within him. Something soft. Something he hadn't felt in a long time. He stood, walked over to the counter, and said in a kind but steady voice, "You both can sit here. Please. I'll take care of it." The woman turned, startled. "Sir, I didn't mean to trouble you. We just needed a place to wait until the rain stops." Ethan smiled faintly. "No trouble at all. Sit. Let's eat together." The little boy's face brightened instantly. "Really?" Ethan nodded. "Really." He ordered soup and sandwiches for all three, and for the first time in months, Ethan wasn't eating alone. The woman's name was Grace, and her son's name was Sam. A bright, talkative boy with a smile that seemed to carry sunlight. As they ate, laughter began to fill the quiet corner of the cafe. Sam talked about school, his dreams, and how he wanted to grow up to be someone who helps people smile. Ethan listened, a soft chuckle escaping his lips. It felt strange and wonderful. It was as if, for one evening, time had stopped, and the weight on his chest had lifted, even just a little. Through their conversation, Ethan learned that Grace had lost her job 2 weeks ago. She was doing her best to care for Sam, staying in a shelter while searching for work. Her voice trembled slightly when she said, "Sometimes I wonder if God even sees us anymore." Ethan froze for a moment, looking down at his open Bible still resting on the table. Then he whispered softly, "I've wondered the same thing." They both sat in silence, but it wasn't heavy. It was peaceful, like two souls recognizing each other's pain. After a few minutes, Ethan asked, "Do you think God still works through small things?" Grace smiled faintly and replied, "I think he works through people who listen." Ethan's heart skipped a beat. His wife had said the same thing once. When you can't hear God, listen to love instead. That's his voice too. A shiver of realization ran through him. Maybe this wasn't random. Maybe this was God answering him, not with words, but with a mother and child who needed warmth. When the rain finally stopped, Grace stood and said softly, "Thank you, sir. You've done more than you know." Ethan reached into his coat pocket and handed her a small white envelope. Inside was a $100 bill and a short note that read, "For Sam's dreams, from someone who almost forgot how to believe." Grace's eyes filled with tears. She hugged Sam tightly and whispered, "Say thank you, sweetheart." Sam smiled up at Ethan. "Thank you, sir. When I grow up, I'll make someone smile just like you did." Ethan felt his throat tighten. That's a promise worth keeping, kid. They walked out into the street, the rain now gone, leaving only puddles that shimmered in the light. Ethan sat back down, feeling an unexpected calm wash over him. He closed his eyes and prayed for the first time in months. Lord, thank you for sending them, for reminding me that faith was never gone. I just forgot where to look. And in that moment, he felt it. A warmth deep inside. Not from the coffee, not from the lights, but from within his soul. It was peace. The kind of peace that doesn't shout, but whispers gently, I never left you. A year passed. Ethan's life began to change quietly. He started volunteering at the cafe once a week, offering free meals to anyone who walked in hungry. He smiled more. He wrote letters of encouragement and left them in random places for strangers to find. Each one signed, a friend who believes in you. The cafe became a place not just for food, but for faith. A place where people came to feel seen, loved, and remembered. Then, one bright afternoon, the bell above the cafe door rang again. Ethan looked up, and there they were. Grace and Sam. Only this time, they weren't weary or worn. Grace was glowing with joy, and Sam ran toward Ethan, holding a folded piece of paper. Mr. Ethan, he shouted, I drew something for you. Ethan smiled and opened the drawing. It showed 3 people sitting at a cafe table. A man, a woman, and a boy. Above them were rays of light streaming through the window. At the bottom, in messy handwriting, were the words, This is the day I learned what kindness looks like. Ethan blinked back tears. He looked at Grace, who said softly, I found a job. We have our own place now. You helped us believe again. Ethan's voice broke slightly. No, Grace, you helped me remember that God never stopped speaking. I just needed to listen. The cafe fell silent for a moment, but the silence was beautiful, filled with gratitude and light. Narrator's tone softens. Sometimes, miracles don't come as loud answers or dramatic signs. Sometimes they come quietly, as a mother asking for a place to stay, or a child reminding a stranger how to smile again. Faith doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers, through kindness, compassion, and small moments that touch eternity. So if you ever feel like God is silent, remember Ethan. Remember Grace and Sam. Remember that kindness might just be his voice speaking through you. Because even in silence, God still speaks. Thank you for watching Kind Tales. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, and subscribe to help spread love and light. Until next time, keep your faith strong and your heart kind.